Have you ever wondered why do some women enter a man's life and without even trying remain unforgettable to him for the rest of his life? It's not because of beauty, it's not because of pampering. It's because she knows how to touch a deeper place in his soul, a place even he has never dared to confront. Carl Jung called this place the shadow, the hidden part of the male psyche buried in the unconscious. It's where ancient wounds, fears of rejection, deep-seated desires to prove one's worth, and the terror of appearing weak reside. The woman who can step into this realm is not just a winner of the love game. She is the one who awakens the self, the true core of the man, through a silent but powerful journey. A path once walked by legendary women like Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and others not through tactics but through an intuitive understanding of the masculine soul. Jung once said, "A woman is not merely a lover. She is the image of the anima to which a man unconsciously aspires, like a mirror reflecting the sacred within himself." Here's something few will tell you: when you are able to touch the anima, a man is unconsciously searching for you, become more than a lover. You become a vital part of his soul's growth. In this video, you won't hear tips on how to keep a man. What you're about to learn is the ancient scripture of the soul, where modern psychology meets mysticism and symbols from the collective unconscious, explain why men love deeply and why they leave when a woman gives too much. You will discover why the more you give, the more you lose value in a man's eyes, how to be absent yet present like the moon, and most importantly, how to become the one who awakens the sacred masculine, the place where a man feels, "I must become a better man because of her." What I'm about to share with you is a fusion of depth psychology, symbolism, and modern neuroscience. But don't worry, you don't need to be a scholar. Everything will be conveyed through imagery, real-life examples, and slow storytelling, just like how Jung recounted his first inner encounter in the Red Book. But before we begin, I want you to take a step back, because there is one more thing. There's a truth few dare to say out loud. Most men don't truly fall in love with a woman because she's sweet, gentle, or perfect. They fall in love because when they are with her, they see themselves at their highest, most complete version, one they've never dared to live. And just like in the mystical dreams Carl Jung once recorded in the Red Book, real love isn't born out of ease, but from a subtle touch upon the sacred part of the man, one that yearns to be awakened yet fears exposure. When a woman sees what he himself cannot, Carl Jung called this the Anima projection, when a man unconsciously projects the image of his inner feminine soul onto a woman. But only women who can see through the ego truly hold that light and become a mirror to his soul. A man who is accurately mirrored feels as though a sacred fire is lit within his heart. He doesn't just love for her presence, but for the feeling of being awakened, for seeing a version of himself he didn't even dare dream of. You might gently say, "I see in you a strength that I'm not sure you've yet learned to use." This isn't advice, it's not hollow flattery. It's like a whisper from his self, and that's when the soul begins to tremble. Soulless compliments, the dagger that kills attraction. Now picture a woman who always praises, "You're amazing, you're everything I need. You don't need to change a thing, I love everything about you." Sounds lovely. But sadly, a man's ego, when unchallenged, quickly falls into stagnation. And that love, no matter how fiery it started, fades like a flame denied fresh wood. Why? Because deep down he knows he hasn't become his ideal self. And if the woman doesn't see that, or worse, pretends it doesn't exist, he feels the relationship is a sweet lie. Still a lie. Loving mirror criticism. Many women mistake challenge for criticism, but that's a dangerous misconception. A statement like, "You have no ambition at all," will only wound a man already filled with self-doubt. Meanwhile, a loving mirror might say, "I sense something in you," as if a part of you is waiting to be awakened. I can't explain it clearly, but I believe it's big and deep. Being seen this way triggers a sweet crisis in his psyche, where his wounded ego is also illuminated. The male brain, a sacred mechanism. Neuroscience confirms when a man feels positively challenged by a woman he admires, his brain releases dopamine, motivation, vasopressin bonding, and oxytocin, emotional connection. This rare chemical cocktail doesn't just make him want to win the woman, it makes him want to become worthy of her gaze. A transformation story I live more authentically because she saw that part of me. One of my clients, Rachel, once loved a cold, silent man who avoided all future plans. Instead of demanding, Rachel told him, "You know, when you talked about wanting to write books as a kid, I saw a light in your eyes. It felt like that part of you still lives, just forgotten." Weeks later, the man started writing again. Months later, he handed her his first manuscript. Not because she pressured him, but because she touched the soul he once abandoned. Practice tip, start with yourself. Before you can see potential in a man, ask yourself, do you truly see yourself? Are you reflecting your own light? Or are you just living to be praised, accepted, loved? Look into a mirror deeply and ask, what do I see in myself that I've never dared say out loud? Only when you learn to see both the shadow and the light within yourself can you become a true soul mirror for any man. If you've ever said something that inspired a man to grow, share it below. Comment, I once saw something deep in him when, or if you're still struggling, let me know what you wish to see in yourself so I can help you rediscover that light. We're not here just to love. We're here to awaken and uplift each other's souls. But sometimes after you've mirrored that light, the man starts to have you too easily. And when that happens, the magic seems to fade. Why? In the next part, I'll reveal the second secret, the paradox of presence. How do you become like the moon, always there, yet never fully possessed? How does your presence become an unforgettable ache in his mind? Stay with me. This journey is just beginning. The paradox of presence. There's a strange paradox in the male psyche. The easier it is to have you, the less he sees you as something worth keeping. This isn't a game of manipulation. It's a primal mechanism in the male brain, one Jung touched on through his exploration of the ego and the process of individuation. When a woman understands this mechanism, she doesn't just awaken love, she stirs the man's spiritual growth. The moon belongs to no one, and that's why it's admired. Carl Jung once likened the human soul to the cosmos, full of light, shadow, and cycles of transformation. In love, a woman too must learn to become like the moon, cyclical in her presence, sometimes full, sometimes dim, sometimes absent, but never forgotten. When you're always available, always responding instantly, you become predictable. And when a man can predict you, he stops imagining, stops desiring. Modern science confirms the male brain releases more dopamine when the reward is uncertain. Unpredictability fuels passion. Why too easy kills desire. Imagine a gift given for no reason with no effort. At first it's exciting, but over time the receiver starts taking it for granted, maybe even stops opening it. Love works the same way. When a man senses you're always waiting, he subconsciously assumes you have nothing else going on. And if there's nothing captivating in your inner world, how can he be drawn in? Jung called this the game between ego and soul. When a man's ego only receives without striving, it stagnates. And love fades not because you did something wrong, but because you were too available. So how do you be present and absent without being misunderstood? Being present and absent isn't about silent treatment. It's not emotional manipulation. It's the natural expression of a rich life that cannot be fully possessed. You're not abandoning him. You're simply living your life, and sometimes that matters more than love itself. Try this. Delay replying not as a tactic, but because you're in a yoga class, meditating, writing, or spending time with soul-nourishing friends. Don't share everything instantly. If he asks, what are you thinking, you might gently say, I'm feeling something quite deep. Maybe it's not time to share just yet. This isn't a game. It's maturity. You protect your inner fire as sacred, something no one can take unless they're ready to step in with reverence. Individuation. A woman is not a man's shadow. Jung's process of individuation is the journey of becoming whole, and women are not exempt. You're not here to complete a man's life. You're here because you already have a full life, and if he's worthy, he gets an invitation to enter. What happens when a woman revolves her life too much around a man? She loses her soul. She forgets her inner voice. She abandons her own path just to stay in a relationship. Jung would call this a misguided sacrifice, when a soul throws away itself just to be loved instead of using love to expand the self. True story. From the girl who waited for texts to the woman who didn't need to be kept. Sophia once told me she loved a successful man. She did everything, waited for his texts, initiated conversation, always ready when he called. But over time, his affection faded. She felt like a last-minute option. Until one day she stopped. No texts, no anger. She simply chose herself. She returned to her passion for writing, joined a women's circle, learned meditation, and healed through Jungian therapy. And in that organic, present absence, the man came back. Because for the first time, Sophia became a living mystery, no longer a gift handed over, but a land to be explored with awe. If you've ever lost yourself by staying too long in someone else's heart, share that feeling below. Comment, I once chose someone else over myself, but I'm learning to come back. We're not here to get love right. We're here to become full and whole like a sovereign soul. Share the journey you're on. We'll listen, no judgment, no advice, just a space to remember our inner light. You've learned how to reflect a man's soul. Now you understand the art of presence like the moon. But deeper still lies the shadow. Carl Jung said true love doesn't just embrace someone's light, it embraces their darkness too, the part they hide, fear, and reject. In the next part, I'll show you how to open the door to a man's shadow, not to control, but to liberate. And when you step into that realm, you won't just be a lover. You'll be a spiritual guide, the one who makes a man fall into a love he cannot walk away from. Stay with me, because this is where real love begins. Facing the shadow, the healer woman, and the ritual of union. There is a kind of love that doesn't come from desire, but from understanding another's darkness. It's not a love that blazes bright from the start, but one that glows like embers, fed by courage and compassion. In Carl Jung's world, this is where love transforms from instinct into soul, when a woman dares to become a priestess holding a man's pain like a sacred healing ritual. The healer archetype, the ancient essence of the awakened woman. In analytical psychology, the archetype of the healer is not a doctor. She is one who has walked through her own wounds and thus can sit beside another's pain without fear. A woman who has been hurt, who has fallen because of love, and chooses not to run from it, she becomes sacred ground. A place where a man can shed his armor, stop being the warrior, stop proving himself, and simply be without hiding. Healing doesn't come from saying you'll be okay. It comes from your willingness to be silent beside him when he's falling apart. Dreams, the unconscious and silent reflection. In the Red Book, Jung often wrote of dreams as oracles of the unconscious, small prophecies from the dark. When a man shares with you a strange dream or a vague feeling he doesn't understand, just listen. The healing woman doesn't analyze, she reflects. Maybe it's not just a dream, but your soul whispering to you. That moment ties you to the sacred depths of his psyche, even parts he doesn't understand. And in Jungian psychology, connection to the unconscious is the first step to inner harmony. How to maintain the healer role without becoming the rescuing mother. There's a thin line between the priestess and the rescuing mother. The mother does everything for him. The priestess only points the way, she does not walk it for him. Remember, you're not there to fix him. You're there to hold sacred space so he can transform himself. You're not the repairer, you're the witness of the journey. To sustain this long-term, have an inner world of your own, a hobby, a morning ritual, an online meditation group, a personal inner journey. He doesn't need to understand it, but you must have it. Disappear meaningfully from time to time. Go on a weekend retreat. Don't reply right away. Not out of a power game, but as a ritual of returning to yourself. Don't untangle his emotions for him. If he's in pain, listen, reflect, and ask. If a part of you knew how to get through this, what would it say? The story, Julia and the man who didn't know how to love. Julia, an interior designer, loved a man wounded from a past marriage. He was closed off, distant, skeptical. Instead of chasing or healing him, she was simply present. She once shared a dream about a collapsed house that bloomed into flowers. She said, "I'm not sure, but I believe every man has an abandoned house inside. Maybe I can't fix it, but if I may, I'd love to plant a flower there." He stayed silent for a long time. Then he cried. The next day he wrote, "You didn't do anything, but you saw the part of me I've been hiding from." 3 months later, he told her he loved her. If you've ever sat beside a man in his most fragile moment, not to fix him, but just to be there, share it below. I once held space for his pain without needing to change it. If you're learning to stop carrying emotions while still staying connected, share. I'm learning to heal without losing myself. Let's remind each other, awakened women are not alone. You've learned to touch the shadow not with skill, but with presence. You know you don't have to fix only to become a mirror of empathy. You're stepping into a new phase where love is no longer about who gives more, but a meeting between two souls already cleansed. The next chapter is where your soul and his truly merge, not in fear or desire, but in the union of light and shadow. Are you ready to cross that final threshold where love is no longer a psychological game, but an eternal ritual of connection? Soul union. When love gradually awakens, two souls. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become great by meeting the expectations of others, but by exploring the depths within oneself." The same is true in love. Great love does not come from what is given. It comes when both people explore and heal each other's inner world together. You've become the mirror of the soul, the flame keeper, the healer priestess. Now the relationship enters a more sacred phase, soul union, where two people through short-term challenges grow in long-term spiritual depth. Men's reactions, from short-term fear to long-term devotion. Short-term fear and withdrawal, this is nearly inevitable. When a man is deeply stirred, he often can't process it immediately. He may disappear for days, even cut off contact, not because he stopped loving, but because the ego is running from the light you reflected. This isn't a sign of the end, it's proof you've touched his shadow. Jung called this the ego's resistance before merging with the unconscious. Long-term rebirth and commitment, but when he dares to return, it's a sign of maturity. He no longer needs to prove himself. He wants to be seen by you from the depths of his being. Commitment is no longer just words, it's daily actions, caring, sharing, protecting, and walking the spiritual path as partners. Example: Bob, a friend wounded by his father, withdrew after his girlfriend began using healing techniques. 6 months later, he returned, not begging, but offering to join her Jungian therapy group. Common mistakes women make when using healing power the wrong way. A. Overhelping. Becoming the mother, you show up, constantly solve everything but forget you're not his caregiver. This makes him feel emasculated and lose confidence. B. Reflecting but not inspiring, you say you can do better. But without pointing to a path or opportunity, the words become vague pressure and confusion. C. Disappearing without sacred reason, ignoring messages just to prove a point. But when he reaches out, you pull further away. That's not sacred mystery, it's toxic distance. How to build lasting soul union, essential steps. Live your life he follows if he's ready. Spend afternoons writing, meditating in group circles, even if he doesn't understand. This isn't just a door he may walk through, it's how you stay truly alive. Share your growth from within, don't boast. Speak from experience today while writing. I saw a light in you, I had forgotten. Instead of telling him to change, let your transformation inspire. Create shared rituals for soul bonding. A partner meditation, reading Jung aloud, gazing into each other's eyes in silence for 5 minutes. These create a beyond words connection where hearts and unconscious minds merge. Real story: Miranda and her journey through the storm. Miranda and Jeff loved deeply in their first year. By all standards, they were compatible, but then Jeff changed, distant, cold. Miranda panicked. She followed what she'd learned, stayed silent for a week, kept meditating, attended a healing workshop. Jeff vanished completely. But 45 days later, he returned, not to apologize, but to say, I wandered in the dark and realized the light I need is where you are. They didn't go back to how things were. They created a small community, joined spiritual ceremonies, meditated together, and protected quiet space. Now, over 2 years later, they still journey together, not for sweet love, but for soul responsibility. If you've gone through a phase of being loved, then lost, then loved again, deeper, share below. I lost him and realized I had to choose myself first, then he returned more deeply. Or if you're still unsure, I don't know if silence is the right step. Let's share so you don't have to walk this love, healing, awakening journey alone. You've learned with Beshisharantishan to mirror the soul, to be present like the moon, to heal like the priestess. And now the final step: soul union. The next stage is when both of you stand before a sacred rite, the soul-merging ceremony when love is no longer desire, but the daily witnessing of each other's depth. The final part will answer, how do you maintain this soul-based relationship for life? What nightly rituals deepen the soul connection? When hardship hits, how do you keep the soul bond intact? Are you ready to step into the festival of heart and soul? Soul reunion: love as the rebirth of femininity and the self. If part 4 was the sacred ritual of soul union, then part 5 is the divine dance between self and self, where love is no longer about seeking one another, but about embodying completeness within yourself. According to Carl Jung, individuation, the process of becoming your true self, begins with self-love. Love with another can never be fulfilled if you haven't first learned to love yourself. Self-love, the starting point of the inner journey. Many women believe self-love means pampering, spa days, shopping, self-compliments. But according to Jung, that's only the surface. True self-love means daring to sit in front of the mirror and say, I deserve to exist. Face your inner darkness, fears, failures, resentment, and still hold compassion and respect for yourself. Only when you walk through the labyrinth of your own shadows without judgment do you become a whole woman, not needing anyone to complete you. Example: Helena. A marketing specialist always tried to please clients, bosses, and friends until her mental health collapsed. Through Jungian therapy, she not only learned to love herself, but to honor her pain, confusion, and imperfection. From that place, she could finally love the right man, not because he was perfect, but because he helped her feel more complete within herself. Individuation and its link to self-love. Individuation is the return to wholeness after integrating both light and shadow. Jung wrote, "One who does not see their inner darkness will be led by it from the outside." You can't complete a relationship if you refuse to face yourself. Self-love teaches you to respect your personal boundaries. Choose yourself without guilt. Stay grounded when your partner is in chaos, not by rejecting him, but by being solid enough not to collapse. When you love yourself with a timeless love, you become stable ground. A man no longer needs to carry his wounds into your space because you no longer allow yourself to be used as his emotional anchor. The goddess archetype and the rebirth of sacred femininity. Among Jung's archetypes, one of the most powerful is the goddess. She's not the perfect woman, but the embodiment of life force, creativity, and eternal heart. Not every woman who nurtures a man is a goddess. A true goddess is connected to her own light, able to radiate warmth, creativity, and inner power. When you live in this archetype, you don't just heal, you ignite creativity and sacredness in the relationship. Simple acts, brewing tea in the morning, midday meditation, a natural smile becomes soul invitations for your partner to awaken. Example: Sarah hosted a monthly night of the goddess where she and her partner read poetry, composed soft music, and meditated by candlelight. These nights didn't just connect them, they brought them back to their creative essence. Their relationship never turned dull because it was infused with soulful presence. How to turn self-love and the goddess archetype into daily rituals. To make love a timeless journey, rekindle your inner flame daily. Write a gratitude journal for yourself. Meditate 10 minutes, not to achieve anything but to feel alive. Establish mini rituals for couples. Once a week, sit together, light a candle, share a story not about work, but about dreams, soul, and fear. Create sacred space for energy renewal. Each person gets 15 minutes daily for themselves. Read a poem, draw, or practice tea ceremony. Nurture the light in each other. Instead of waiting to receive, reflect something sacred. I feel I'm living something small yet divine right now. Share below if this resonates. I once learned to love myself, and from there I learned how to love life. We created small rituals, and we no longer got swept away by the chaos outside. Let your story stand as a testament to the journey of self-love, individuation, and the rebirth of the goddess archetype in each of us. You've walked the path of soul reflection, presence like the moon, healing like the priestess, soul union, and now awakening yourself through self-love and the goddess within. The final part will offer a roadmap of daily spiritual rituals, not to keep someone, but to help you live a more complete life. Because the truest love is not what someone gives you. It's what you are able to give yourself in your soul connection. Soul integration, a celebration of love and inner maturity. You've walked a long, contemplative journey with me. We began with the soul mirror, where you learned how to make a man see himself through your gaze. Through the paradox of presence, you chose to live not just for him, but from the truth of your own being. You stepped into facing the shadow, becoming the priestess who holds the sacred space for both. Then came soul union, where love wasn't just about connection, but about two people being reborn through shared trials. And now you've entered self-love and the goddess archetype, where your love for yourself becomes an infinite light. Connecting self-love, romantic love, and the personal journey. In his letter to Richard Wilhelm Jung wrote, "Only those who dare to descend to the depths of their soul can rise to the highest light." Self-love isn't a technique, it's a sacred vow to your own soul. When you are strong enough to embrace yourself, you don't need someone else to do it for you. You become fully capable of giving and receiving love from a whole place. Love from a Jungian lens is a gateway to the sacred. It's not just about loving someone else, it's about being loved because you've learned how to love yourself. When you love your own being, you also learn to love your partner's inner life with deep respect, empathy, and spiritual presence. Reviving the goddess, returning to your sacred feminine purpose. The goddess in archetypes like Ariadne, Sophia, or Wonder Woman is not a distant ideal. She lives in you through small sacred acts. When you choose rest instead of chasing him, you honor your inner self. When you vulnerably express raw emotions, you gift him healing energy. When you share a quiet morning ritual, you remind him that love isn't just a feeling, it's a daily spiritual act, turning everyday life into a sacred ritual of love. You don't need anything elaborate. Let each day be a gift. Morning, write down one thing you're grateful for in yourself. Evening, look into his eyes and softly say, "Thank you for walking through today with me." If love is a journey, then self-love in the goddess archetype are the sacred water that keeps the relationship blooming. Tell me, what did you say thank you to yourself for today? Have you ever created a two-person ritual that kept love sacred? Share below so none of us walk this path alone. Each story is a light in this vast night, a constellation of awakened souls creating a universe of possibility. If this felt like more than a video, if it felt like a soul journey, click subscribe so you don't miss the next part, daily rituals to keep love forever sacred. Practice videos, couples meditations, journaling prompts, guides to building a spiritual love space, live workshops where you can meet, share, and awaken with other extraordinary women. And remember, you didn't come here to be saved. You came here to awaken your essence so you can give a love that can never be extinguished. Throughout this journey, you've done more than you realize. You've learned to see deeply, to hold steady, to heal, to love yourself, and to revive your soul. And now, as you embrace your inner goddess, you don't just become radiant. You become a lighthouse for men, for yourself, and for anyone lost in the dark, searching for the way home. Will you dare to express self-love today? Tell your story below. Because the greatest love has never been for another person. It starts when you, a woman with a vast soul and deep mind, dare to say, "I love myself enough to become the goddess of my own life." Thank you for walking with me to the end. If this resonated, leave a subscribe and share it with a woman you cherish. See you in the next video where we turn each day into an unforgettable love ritual.